Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Agree to Disagree. I'm your host for the week, Noah Schwartz, alongside my boys Jack Asello, Dean Gudick, and Aidan Chard. Fellas, how we doing?
Great.
Fantastic.
Little stress from we're coming up on finals, but otherwise I'm great.
Yeah, end of
Feeling
the
different
semester,
today.
but what can you do? It's Happy Football Monday, guys. So we got two NFL games later today. When we're recording this, it's around 4 o'clock. The NFL games start in an hour. And we've got a lot to talk about from yesterday's games. We've got quite a few games we're going to get to. And then we're going to do a cool segment later in the show that we all give our favorite memorabilia item that we have for sports that we've gotten throughout our lives. So everyone will show theirs off, and it'll be a little show and tell session for you guys. So let's start with the Jets. I know this is the game that Jack and I bet Dean too, and maybe Aidan a little bit, we have a lot to say about. The Jets lost the game on the final play.
Well, they lost the game.
Well, okay, maybe they tanked the game away. We don't know. Either way, they lost the game on the final play.
Look, we do what we got to do.
Henry Ruggs deep in the end zone. Lamar Jackson, not the MVP Lamar Jackson, couldn't cover him. And Greg Williams now is fired.
There's two Lamar Jacksons.
Yeah, that's the corner who it was.
I didn't even
Nebraska.
know that. I missed that. Man,
it'll go down. I think Greg Williams' play call will go down as one of the funniest and most awful play calls in the history of NFL defense. So, Jack, what do you have to say about the 0-12 Trevor Lawrence bound Jets?
Well, first off, let's go Jets. Let me say this. I was very annoyed when Henry Ruggs, when he fumbled that ball, I was like, oh my God, the Jets actually have a chance to win. So we scored that last touchdown. So first off, I just want to say the Raiders were driving, like a part of me thought they were going to score a touchdown. Like they got before they scored the touch on the last drive, the second to last drive they had, there was like 3 penalties on 4th downs. It went into the end zone. They scored, but the penalties were offset. I'm like, all right, we just lost. There's no way. Then they get a stop. They push him out of bounds. I'm just like, this clock didn't stop. I'm like, all right, there's no chance we can win. And then it looked blatantly obvious as it was going down. When first Aguilar beat us deep, it was the same. It looked like pretty much the same play from last year's Super Bowl. Garoppolo missed Sanders, and they could have won.
When Aguilar beats you deep, you know you have a bad secondary.
Yeah. So
well, in the Jets' defense, though, they have nobody who has any legitimate NFL experience. I mean, it's literally just a bunch of rookies and bless Austin.
Except Marcus May.
Oh, and Marcus May, right. But he's a safety. I'm talking about as the corners. I mean, they literally have rookies and bless Austin.
Wait, don't you guys have Jamal Adams?
Maybe we – no, not anymore.
Blitz boy.
Anyway, so when that play happened, I was jumping through the roof. I was so happy. Could it have been scripted? Possibly. Like, was it like, do they call down and make him do it? To be honest, I'm going to say I don't think so. I do truly believe. I'm from Greg Williams' perspective. I bet he's thinking we don't have a great secondary. Our strongest strength is our pass rush. Maybe use that. I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. I'll tell you what happened though. Was he fired? Did he deserve to be fired? Yes. Did they want to fire him? Absolutely not. I'm going to tell you the real reason why he was fired. Christopher Johnson does not care at all that they let that touchdown happen. The only reason he's firing him is because he wants to save face. The one thing Christopher Johnson cares about more than anything is how the media looks at him and his organization. And pretty much with the exception of Dan Snyder, he's probably throughout the media, he's considered the worst owner in the NFL. He doesn't want to add to the title that it looked like his team was trying to lose on purpose. So that's the only reason why he was fired, just to save face.
Oh, Jack.
I think you're correct there that he did want to save face, and that was probably a big reason that's why he was fired. But I do think that it goes a little bit deeper than that. It's illegal in the NFL to fix games, to throw games in all pro sports. That is against the law, So if they didn't fire Greg Williams after that play call,
yeah, no, absolutely.
It not only does it there is the whole saving face thing, but it also makes it look like, hey, maybe the Jets really are trying to purposefully lose every single one of these games. And that's a really bad idea.
But hold on.
That's not a look you want your team to have.
If you wanted to lose these games, why is Sam Darnold out there playing hurt? Why is Jamison Crowder, who's been out twice this year for different injuries, still out there? You're not trying to lose if you put your best players on the field. They were in this game. They could have won this game. why would you try and lose it on the final possible play? If Derek Carr throws that ball to Henry Ruggs and it goes another 2 feet over his head, the game is over and they win anyway.
Yeah, nobody
so if
would
you're
care.
purposely trying to lose, you're going to lose 50-0, like the Chargers did yesterday, 45-0. You're not going to lose by a couple of points in a close game back and forth where you have every chance to win.
It's not the fact that, they got blown out. It's the way they lost at the end. And I have a little stat here from Next Gen Stats. The Jets are the only team to send 8+ pass rushers on a play in the last 30 seconds of the game. Who does that, especially on a Hail Mary?
Zero.
That
Hey,
play
man,
forever.
we're innovative. We're changing.
Yeah, very innovative at finding
Remember
new ways to
Christopher Johnson
lose.
said Adam Gase is coaching where football is going.
Dude, and it's such a bad look.
Number one draft pick.
It's a bad look on the Jets organization. And for an organization who threw Lamar under the bus, they put Lamar Jackson, not the quarterback Lamar Jackson, the Nebraska Lamar Jackson, one-on-one with the speed demon from Alabama named Henry Ruggs. He knew he was going to get burnt. It's not in Phil Sims said it best. You don't do that unless you're trying to lose the game on purpose. And that's what the Jets did.
But I think it's part of Williams' DNA. Like, honestly, I just do. Like, he has done this before.
Williams has always been a blitzing guy.
Yeah,
He's a blitzer. He's aggressive. He wants to go and demolish you and hit hard and get personal fouls. Like, that's his style.
He's a cheap shot guy.
His thing is to hit hard and demoralize the opponent, and we saw it really well in 2011 when he was the defensive coordinator for the Saints, and he orchestrated the whole Bounty Gate thing, which Sean Payton had nothing to do with. Anyways.
But it's just, to me, it's an ego thing.
He's a guy who likes to just go hard, and I think his mantra is basically, if we hit them hard, they're not going to want to go deep on us. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether or not we can cover it.
So here's my one question about yesterday, and I don't think they were tanking. I'll make that abundantly clear. Here's my one question, though. So last week, and this has been a big story in New York media the last, 7-8 days. Adam Gase last week claimed he was not calling plays last week for the majority of the game. And he hasn't been calling plays for like over a month now, and Dowell Loggins has been doing it. So if Greg Williams decided to run a zero blitz on the last play of the game, and this was how it was going to end, why isn't Adam Gase, who's turned into this overseer where he just kind of just controls what's happening on the field on both sides, why doesn't he go and say, timeout, overruling you, Greg Williams, we're running a different play. We're going to run, cover 3 man safety. Everyone goes back by the goal line and just run it that way. Why do we need to run a zero blitz with 8 guys rushing the quarterback? If he is this overseer that he claims that he has been for the last month, he has to make a change there, and he has to know what his defensive coordinator's game plan is going in. He has to understand that he's an aggressive guy. He's going to go for the sack, and that's just how he plays these situations. He has to know better. And I don't want to put this all on Gase because I don't really think the loss was on him yesterday, but that is one question that I think he needs to be asked by the media whenever he speaks. I think he spoke earlier today, but I didn't see what he said, and maybe later this week. Someone needs to find out why he did not stop this and put an end to it before his team lost the game in this horrible fashion like they did.
Yeah, but it's also interesting because it's going to be kind of funny is you can honestly argue in about a month. Well, also, I'm sure most fans like you and me were probably thrilled that it happened.
Yeah.
But Greg Williams, if we get Trevor Lawrence and he turns out to be the next phenom, like Greg Williams will be looked at as a hero of this franchise forever.
Yeah, he will be.
What it turns out to be. And also, I want to talk about another thing. Speaking of Adam Gase, I kind of find it a little. Well, I know I don't like in a sense that it was him that fired Greg Williams because at this point, why should he have that kind of power? But
he's still the head coach. I mean,
I saw something.
I have a problem with that.
I saw something interesting today. I was reading an article and I was listening to Boomer and Gio. I don't know how I feel about this, but they were talking about Bill Cowher. There was Boomer. He works with them at the CBS studios. Like every Sunday, they go over the halftime show. So Boomer was talking to Cowher, and he was talking about how he was showing game film of him like coaching on the sidelines. Boomer said he's never done that in 14 years they've been working together. And there's been reports that he says that he thinks the Jets are easily the top destination to go, and that he loves GM Joe Douglas with the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I heard the same rumor. I'm not with that.
I know.
That's like a Mike McCarthy thing to me. He had his time. He's a Hall of Famer, but Bill Cowher doesn't need to come back here. I just don't see that.
Noah, Jack.
Like it's like a Bill Parcells takeover kind of like. I feel like respect him.
I love you guys. I support that you guys support the Jets, but I really, really hope that the Jags end up with that number 1 overall pick.
Oh, the whole country does.
Not only,
why would anyone want the Jets to have the number 1 pick in New York?
But for two reasons. One, because I hate the Jets, but also just because Trevor Lawrence actually would have a career with the Jags. I mean, think about him handing the ball off to James Robinson, throwing it to DJ Chark. That actually has some sort of like semblance of a team there. Who is he throwing it to?
Jack,
who are you throwing it to?
Say what I know you're going to say. Go for it.
All I'm saying is this. The Jags, I'm just saying, if the Jets are at the bottom of the barrel, the Jags are number 2 right behind that. They've been one of the worst franchises ever since the turn of the century. The last decade, they made the playoffs one time. And
almost went to the Super Bowl.
Every other year, they were considered easily the worst team in the entire league. So I don't think that's much of a better situation.
Yeah, and more than that, Aidan, the Jets have 100 picks. The Jets have all this cap space. They have an established general manager. They've got Denzel Mims and Quinn Williams and Marcus May. And so they have and Crowder, Mekhi Becton. They've got legitimate talent in a few different spots on this roster. I know they're going to probably go winless and all that, but you got to remember, the NFL is a league that's built on and it's supposed to be about teams going from down here up to here in a quick span of time. We've seen it before. We'll see it again. When you have a quarterback on a rookie contract and that quarterback is competent and can throw the ball where he needs to throw it, as long as the organization around him does the right thing and gets weapons and puts an offensive line and spends in free agency and uses their draft picks correctly, the whole point is that you're going to be able to become a good franchise in a couple of years. So if the Jets make the playoffs in 2 years from now or something, kind of like what the Browns have done since they drafted Baker Mayfield, why would that surprise anyone? I know the Jets are incompetent, but the Browns are more incompetent, and they're 9-3.
Yeah, but like I hate that everybody argues like the point is like he should go to a good team. Like all number 1 picks, people do realize that most guys that are picked at the top go to bad teams. So bad teams can become better.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is was dominating right now on an awful football team.
It's like I can't say it's like Trevor Lawrence, he should demand a trade.
Justin Herbert, it happens all the time.
Go to a team that's like friggin' picking in the late 20s. Like no, like teams aren't going to get better that way.
Yeah, no, I'm totally with Jack. Trevor Lawrence can go to the Jets and thrive. There's no reason. Bill Belichick is only going to be there for a little while, and the Bills are not they're a good team, but they're not some powerhouse. Who knows what's going to be with Miami? You know, the Jets have every chance in the world to become a good team in the next couple of years and win games in the AFC East. And yesterday was just the next step towards getting to that point. And that's really why Jack and I are so happy.
Whatever you guys have to tell yourself.
This offseason, when it comes to free agency, the number 1 priority, and I'm going to be so critical of Joe Douglas's offseason, he better get him a number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
Juju Smith-Schuster, Chris Godwin, Allen Robinson, and Kenny Galladay are all going to be free agents. You have to land one of them.
Yeah.
No exception.
All right. I feel like we should move on to another incompetent franchise.
Yes.
Well, the Giants are pretty incompetent, or at least they have been. But yesterday they beat the Seahawks with a backup quarterback. So they beat Russell Wilson with Colt McCoy under center, which was an absolute shock. They held the electric Seahawks offense to 10 points. They only scored 12. The other 2 were on a safety. So it was only 10 points. And the Giants won with a backup quarterback, and they're now really, I mean, if Washington loses later today, they're fully entrenched as the favorite in the NFC East. The Cowboys are awful. The Eagles we'll get to them later. They're awful. The Giants have every reason to win this division and to be maybe a 6 or 7 win team under Joe Judge. They've won 4 straight. So, Dean, I'll start with you. What do you think about the Giants? Like, how do they pull this off, and where do they go from here?
I mean, it's simple. The Giants' defense came to play. They got to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson had a lot of turnovers. And honestly, Russell Wilson, if you think about it, has not been the same since the Bills game. He's been turning the ball over a lot. He's been performing differently. The Giants defense won them this game. Now, of course, the greatest backup ever, Colt McCoy from Texas, the kid who won the Heisman, didn't do much, but he kind of did what he had to do. But it was the Giants defense and, of course, Wayne Gallman who won the Giants this game. The Giants, not only is this a monumental win for them, but now they could have their chests out. Now they could really take the driver's seat, especially if Washington, as you mentioned, Noah, loses later. This Giants team has been competitive throughout the year. They almost beat the Buccaneers. They almost beat the Steelers on Monday night. This is a Giants team that's actually better than what their record says. And this is a Giants team that's going to be competitive. Joe Judge is a good blue-collar coach.
Yeah, I'm going to say something I'm going to say something honestly. Before this game, I didn't know who was going to take this division. But after yesterday, Giants are no question. Giants
Oh,
are
100%.
Giants are winning this division. The football team, they're not winning tonight. Cowboys, please. And the Eagles are just an absolute mess right now. So and good on the Giants. And even though they're 5-7, they're only 5-7. Their record, all the games they've lost, they're not getting killed in any of these games. They've played hard in every single game.
Have they been blown out yet? I don't think so.
Really.
I don't
I don't
remember
think they
them
have.
being blown out.
No, they
Not
really
me
haven't
either.
been allowed. Like even in week 1, like they were in the entire game with the Steelers. It was a
Yeah.
game the whole game, and the Steelers pulled away in the last 2 minutes.
And I've been saying all season they should have beat Tampa Bay on that Monday night. So
Yeah, they should
oh,
have.
that's another
No
win right there,
call
possibly.
PI.
Yeah, the Giants are like a legit
The
team.
Giants are very close to having a winning record right now. The Giants are very close to being seen as one of the best teams in the NFC, which is really weird. But I also just want to say Noah is going to have to back me up on this. In our PR class, we were talking in our little breakout room. We're making predictions for this week for the stat line for Colt McCoy.
Aidan was spot on.
My
was
prediction,
so close.
Colt McCoy, 11 of 20, 98 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Colt McCoy actually went, 13 for 22, 105 yards, a touchdown, and a pick.
He was really
and that
close.
was
Right on cue.
And he picked the Giants win, which
and I
actually
picked the
happened.
Giants to win.
Yeah, he did.
But
Nobody else did.
I just needed to rub that into everybody because that is the proudest I've ever been. I have peaked and my whole life is downhill from here. But anyways,
I am not worthy.
it was a
great
good
job, Aidan.
it was a great showing, I think, by the Giants defense. Although I will say kudos to the Seahawks defense because this Giants offense has shown that they have the ability to score well, even without Saquon Barkley, even without oh my God, Daniel Jones. I forgot his name. They've still been able to, put up points. They should have probably scored more against the Seahawks defense. And this was probably the first time where I looked at the Seahawks defense and I thought that defense can win a game. So that's good. But the problem this week, which is the opposite of the problem from every other week, was the fact that the Seahawks offense couldn't get going. And it basically
Well, they have next week to figure it out. They play the Jets.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was so happy
it
about.
basically
I'm so happy
killed the
Seahawks
Russell
lost
Wilson
is
MVP campaign.
I'm so happy the Seahawks lost is A, this only helps our draft stock, and B, now the Seahawks, like, they got that mess up game out of their system where they fall off, and now they got to get back to work. They're in a tough division. They need every win they can get, and they're not going to let this happen. Also, Jamal Adams is coming in. I know for damn sure he is not leaving that building without a W.
But, great job to the Giants, especially their defense. And you guys said it. There's no way anyone else wins the NFC East at this point.
And Dean was talking about Joe Judge, how he's this blue collar coach, and you're so right about it, Dean. And I think even more than that, this coaching staff as a whole, it's a player development masterpiece. They have taken a group of players from the beginning of this season who they were a kind of just a random bunch of players who had been thrown together. There was a couple of free agent signings, but mostly this was young players and guys we didn't know anything about. And that ragtag group that we had early in the season that was 1-7 is now 5-7. And that's because this defense is significantly better. The quarterback play has been significantly better. They've developed the offensive skill position players. Evan Ingram is a very talented tight end, even though he kind of struggles at times.
He's up and down.
Yeah, but he's a very talented guy. They've got some nice receiving talent. The offensive line has become a lot better than what it was. And every single unit on this team, they are better than they were a month ago and 2 months ago and 3 months ago. And that just speaks to the coaching staff, because if you look at other teams around the league, sometimes the talent looks worse as you go forward, or it looks like there's been no improvement at all. With this Giants team, you don't even recognize it. It's a completely different football team than it was just recently. And that's why they've won 4 straight.
Yeah, sure. The Giants are in a good spot.
Yeah, honestly, ever since Daniel Jones tripped on that run, the Giants have looked like a completely different team.
Yeah, I gotta say
that trip might have been the best thing possible for the Giants.
And they're closing games too. They were losing games at the end, and they couldn't find ways to finish. Now they're finding ways to put teams away and win games at the end.
They closed out that Seahawks game perfectly.
I know it's kind of interesting. Like, Joe Judge he's not necessarily an offensive or defensive guy. He's just a CEO. He overlooks everything. He hires good people, and he makes sure they're doing their job. And if something's wrong, he's going to get in the, like he showed with the offensive line, he's going to get in your face, and if something's wrong, he's going to fix it.
I mean, and it's not only that with the Giants offense. it's the running game who's been good. Wayne Gallman, I think, has stepped up for the Giants' run game ever since Barkley's been hurt. And I think Wayne Gallman has done a terrific job for the Giants in the backfield.
And you know who was great yesterday? It was like flashback to 2012 because Alfred Morris was playing. Like, what the heck? How did he get on the
Gallman
field?
and Morris.
Morris.
This is weird to say, but Gallman and Morris make a good 1-2 punch.
What?
Alfred Morris is one of the most, in my opinion, is one of the most disrespected running backs. He was always great.
I kind of agree.
100%.
Great in
He was
Washington.
always a
Washington.
very solid guy.
No, when he was in Washington, he was great. And like no one, when he was there after like 4 years, and just nobody wanted him. Nobody offered him a contract.
He was in Dallas for a while, wasn't he?
He
I
was
think
back-
so.
He's been all
He
over the
bounced around the
NFC.
NFC.
Hang on, I want to look something up now. I want to look up. his
All
name.
right.
All right, but let's go into our next topic, and Jack, we can get back to that in a second. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about maybe the worst team in the NFL right now outside of the Jets, the Philadelphia Eagles. They lost yesterday to the Packers. Was it 30-16? They benched their quarterback, my man Carson Wentz. I feel awful for Carson. It's just been such a rough season for the guy, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. The coaching staff's a disaster. The offensive line's a disaster. The weapons are a disaster. The defense is not too great either, to be honest.
There's no
There's
bright
nothing
spots.
great about the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
There's no bright spots, especially when you look at the draft, you look at who they could have gotten. They could have gotten Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
Instead
They
of
took
Jalen,
Arcega Whiteside last year. That guy had done nothing his
instead
whole
of
career.
Jalen Rieger.
Over DK
Um,
Metcalf. DK Metcalf.
They could have gotten Jordan Love if they really wanted a new quarterback so bad. They could have gotten him. You know, there were some big guys that the Eagles passed on getting. I couldn't tell you why. They look like a terrible team. They don't deserve to even have 3 wins. Like, you know, their last win was against the Cowboys. But before that, it was
The
game
Ben
against
DiNucci Cowboys, not even the Cowboys.
the Ben DiNucci Cowboys. Before that, it was against the Giants, who, you know,
barely
like we were saying, it was the Daniel Jones trip. If that didn't happen, the Giants win that game.
Yes.
And then they also beat the 49ers, who have been up and down all season. But
With a backup quarterback.
Carson Wentz,
I know George Kittle.
I think putting Jalen Hurts in there took away any argument for Carson Wentz just doesn't have any weapons. Because on Jalen Hurts' first play, his first pass, tosses it 34 yards over the shoulders. Beautiful play.
Jalen Rieger.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though.
Jalen to Jalen.
And
Here's I'll argue that. Like, go ahead, and I'll argue that. in a
well, it's
second.
just like that to me. Hurts. It showed that Hurts. If Hurts can make those completions with no experience, Carson Wentz should be able to, unless Carson Wentz is not as good of a quarterback as people say he is. He had some great seasons. He should have won the MVP in 2017. But ever since then, he has just gone way downhill. The team has also made it worse for him. He has had a significantly worse team every single season. But he is not the guy that they put was he the 1 or 2 draft pick?
Number 2 pick.
Too.
Number 2. He's not the guy that they drafted at number 2 anymore.
Yeah.
So
no.
here's what I'll argue the point you made about Hurts. First of all, the offensive line, as we know, for the Eagles is awful, and Hurts is just a better runner than Wentz is. So I think he's going to be able to move around a little bit more and create some plays outside the pocket, which should actually help them out a little bit, considering the protection has broken down so quickly all season. So that actually does help. And you know, I actually am in favor of them starting Jalen Hurts next week. I would give Carson Wentz some time away. But I think the biggest thing for the Eagles, and this has really been, to me, their downfall, when you have a guy that you take at number 2 and you put all your eggs into his basket and he's the guy that you really think is going to be your franchise quarterback for 10, 15 years, you've got to do everything around with him to prop him up and make him seem like the franchise face. And I feel like at every turn, the Eagles have kind of like turned their back on him a little bit and sort of put obstacles in his way that have made it harder for him to thrive. Like, for example, and I know Nick Foles won them the Super Bowl, but Nick Foles is a legend in Philadelphia. And forever, people are always going to think of Carson Wentz as the other quarterback on that team that Nick Foles was able to win the Super Bowl for. This year, they draft a quarterback in the 2nd round after that guy just took you to the playoffs last year and dominated for the final month of the season. Why are you taking a quarterback in the 2nd round and all of a sudden creating a quarterback question that you never had? He was your guy post Nick Foles. Everyone knew that. And 1 year later, you take a quarterback in round 2 that you never needed. You could have gotten a receiver there. You could have added help on your offensive line. You could have done a lot of things. And instead, you self-created your own quarterback problem.
Yeah.
And now you're being put in this position where you need to bench your guy. If Nate Sudfeld was still the primary backup like he was in the past, you're not benching Carson Wentz because nobody believes in Nate Sudfeld. People believe in Jalen Hurts because they saw what he did in college and he was a high draft pick. Of course, at some point you want to put him in the game. They needed to give him more confidence, and you knew that his confidence was getting lower and lower. You needed to prop him up as his career went on, and they never did it, and that's why he's in the position he's in. He needs to be elsewhere because Philly is no longer the place for him. His luck there and his confidence there has dried out.
Any thoughts on where he might end up if Philly doesn't want him back next season?
Indy, Frank Reich's there.
I could definitely see that, actually. That could be a shout.
That could be
really good for him.
Here's what I'll say about this. I agree with some of what you said, but I also disagree with some of what you said. Well, I will say, yes, Carson Wentz a couple years ago, he was probably robbed of an MVP. In that season, he was absolutely phenomenal. I agree when Nick Foles came in, he became Nick Foles became the legend, and Carson Wentz pretty much is the other guy. So the following season, he did come back, and he was put up mediocre numbers at best. And that season, the Eagles were pretty much dead in the water until Carson Wentz went out, and then Nick Foles came in and saved them again. Then they decided to give Carson Wentz a ginormous contract, even though he had one great season. That was with a great team around him where they didn't have to pay him. I always say the best period is like some quarterbacks, they're always great when everything around them is able to be great. When you look at it now, like they're not able to pay for the top-notch defense that they once had. They don't have obviously the weapons aren't the same. Well, even though these weapons weren't great even that season, Jeffrey and Aguilar were his top two wideouts. But he's just not able to do it. He's not able to do it. He's had plenty of injury problems. We all know his injury history is a lot. I'm sure his body is taking a toll. And also, confidence is partially ruined. But also, I gotta blame a lot of this on Doug Peterson.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just for this year, Peterson is going to be fired at the end of the season.
This year alone, ever since pretty much they won the Super Bowl, I thought all of his coaching has been extremely questionable. In all these seasons, but especially this year, Carson Wentz is the guy right now. He's struggling. And like the pass blocking is not terrific. One thing I thought the Eagles, they're able to do this year, they're able to run the football. Why is he not making it a ground first attack and throw when you need to? He's like trying to get Wentz going every chance he can. Like, if you're not doing well, if he's not carrying the team on his back, you use the team to almost carry him in a sense. Rely on Miles Sanders. Rely on Boston Scott. Do nice quick passes, screenplays to protect him. They don't do anything that way. Doug Peterson I think the Eagles need to clean house.
I agree.
Howie, Peterson, and Wentz, all gone.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean that way too. I was always a big Doug Peterson fan, but with what you said, Jack, it's 100% right. That team needs to be a running first team, and they were when they won the Super Bowl. I mean, they had all those different running backs. They were using Jordan Howard at times when he was there, and all these other guys, Corey Clement. I mean, they had a million running backs.
Like it was the Super Bowl was Blunt, Ajayi, and Clement.
Right, and those guys were all getting carries, and they were getting thrown in and out of the game, and they just had a number of different runners, and now all of a sudden it's Miles Sanders or bust, and even Boston Scott. Like when Boston Scott gets in the game, he makes things happen, and he never gets the ball. It's like, what are you doing? So yeah, I'm totally with you. Doug Peterson will get another chance somewhere, but not in Philly.
Oh my God, please don't hire him. Please don't hire him. I don't want another fired coach. The only fired coach, and I don't think he's gonna get fired, that I'd want is John Harbaugh. He's not getting fired.
The Eagles have missed out many times in the draft, as Jack mentioned before. They could have gotten DK, but they went with Arcega-Whiteside. They could have gotten Justin Jefferson or traded up for CeeDee Lamb, but instead they go with Jalen Reagor. Howie Roseman has failed to build around Carson Wentz after his injury. This Eagles team has gone downhill, and it might be time to clean house for Philly. You guys mentioned they had a three-headed monster at running back with Clement,
Ajayi, and Blunt.
Ajayi and pretty much. The Eagles need a new team. They need to clean up. This is not the same Eagles team we saw before. I used to be a big believer in Doug Peterson. I used to think that he was the guy and he was going to be the next great coach, but now I think that's it.
He had the Super Bowl to his credit. I'm not going to take that away from him, but
100%.
what he's done is just ridiculous.
So let me throw out a couple questions at you guys. So first of all, who is the quarterback of this team? Because I don't think Jalen Hurts is a franchise quarterback. You know that. I haven't felt that way at all. So did they go find someone in the draft in round 1? They're going to have a high pick. This is a good quarterback draft. I'm not sure where they go from here.
I think Jalen Hurts could be a franchise quarterback. I think you just need to build around him.
I agree.
We haven't seen anything from him yet.
You have to hire the right coach. It's kind of like a sensible way I think of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson would work if he didn't have, I don't know if it's more so
Harbaugh.
I'm going to say Greg Roman, the OC, because he knows how to build around a quarterback. He's done it necessarily. I'm sure Harbaugh does a lot with that, but I think more so you need to hire the correct guy to call plays and build an offense.
Hire a guy from college. That's what you got to do.
Lincoln Riley. No, I'm just
Someone from college, because in college they innovate. They don't just, do what you're supposed to do. College teams do what they need to do to win with the players that they have. Get a guy who's never coached in the NFL before. That's how Jalen Hurts is going to be successful.
Or you get a guy that has developed, like Cliff Kingsbury developed Patrick Mahomes. You get guys that can.
The Jets were so close to Matt Rule, but he had to pick. They couldn't let him pick his own staff.
Well, he chose the bag, Jack, in Carolina.
So then on top of Hurts, guys, because maybe he's the franchise guy, maybe he's not. Like, what do they do with the rest of this team? I mean, they've really botched like each of their last 2 first and second round picks outside of Miles Sanders. Andre Dillard's terrible. He's hurt. Arcega-Whiteside's terrible and hurt all the time. This year they didn't do well in the draft. They drafted Jalen Hurts in round 2, and we don't know what he's going to be. Like, I don't even know what they do from here. This team is expensive and veteran heavy, and they just don't have a lot of talent anymore. I just feel like they're so bad, and there's no path for them to get better right now unless they find a franchise quarterback and a new coach.
Right now, they need to build it all down and you gotta clear some cap, and you gotta gather draft picks. They have pieces that they can move. You can move Zach Ertz, you can move Fletcher Cox, you can move Brandon Graham. Like you have a couple pieces that you can move.
It's just who's gonna not like take these guys. It's out of every team, and maybe besides the Jets, the Eagles are going to be the hardest one, in my opinion, to clean house for.
I agree.
I just don't know how this Eagle team is going to recover. I feel like the Eagles are in a deep hole, and they might be in it for a decent amount of time. They're going to have to really dig deep from the hole, and they're going to have to really find their way out of it.
If they are interested in cleaning house, Joe Douglas has connections with Philly. Why don't you
hire Adam Gase?
Lane Johnson,
the offensive genius.
Lane Johnson,
yes.
Let's get that O-line. Let's get that O-line, baby.
I feel bad for Philadelphia Eagles. It's rough. All right, what else we want to talk about? I know there was one other team.
The Browns.
The Browns. Right. So Cleveland, yesterday that was the best performance of Baker's career, right? I mean, I think we all have to agree with that. 37 points in the first half. Beat the Titans.
Was the first game Baker Mayfield looked like a number 1 pick in an NFL draft.
Yeah, probably since his rookie year, I think.
Yeah,
because and not only yesterday was he great, but for the first time, it felt like he was all in on football. I felt like the last month or so, he's really locked in. And every time you hear him in press conferences, it's all about football. It doesn't seem like he's this confused, isolated, sort of commercial-heavy kid like he was. I mean, he always seemed like he was on his own island, and he was never truly in it with his own teammates. Now it feels like he's a part of the group, and everyone sort of believes in him, and that's why they're playing better. Ever since Odell Beckham Jr. went out, I hate to say this because I like Odell, but as soon as Odell went out, I feel like the whole vibe around this team kind of changed.
I feel like there's more guys have been involved. Like Peoples-Jones has been solid. Rashard Higgins. I think the Browns have gotten more involved ever since Odell's gotten hurt. And listen, I like Odell too, but I think ever since he's got hurt, there's been more movement. Baker spread the ball more with Cleveland. There's these guys, like I said, with Peoples-Jones getting the ball more.
Jarvis Landry has looked like the best receiver in the last 3 weeks.
I agree. I think this, when Odell went down, I was counting the Browns out. I thought they were going to end up missing the playoffs because that took away probably their best target on offense, especially with Chubb out for several weeks too. But I mean, I think we've seen, especially this week, that the Browns can make plays without having to rely on Odell. And I think that it might lead to Odell getting traded in the offseason.
Or cut.
I don't know.
I'm not sure if anybody's going to trade for him.
You could get at the very least, you could get.
Nobody's going to give up high value for that.
Yeah, I'm with Jack on that.
Something for Odell. Maybe not high value. You probably wouldn't be getting a first round pick because of the contract, yes. But you
Hopkins
could
is getting a first rounder. He'll be lucky to get a fourth.
I was
you
going to say
could- you
sixth
could at the
round
very-
Frodo, fifth
I don't
rounder.
see why you would ever cut a player of that caliber when you could trade them
Yeah,
and
no, I agree.
actually get something
I
out of them.
100% agree.
It makes
That's
no
what I'm
sense
saying.
to cut him.
I 100% agree with that. I could, like, when the Jets, they just cut Le'Veon Bell, I was ridiculous. Like, even if you can get a
Yeah.
7th-round pick. You
Yeah,
never
exactly.
know.
Get a 7th-round pick out of Le'Veon. You
Never
can
know.
get a
You
7th-round
never know
pick.
what he'll turn into. Take a kicker. Maybe he'll be the future. Like, who knows? Like, Justin Tucker went undrafted. 7th pick.
Trade him for a freaking offensive assistant coach. You know,
It's
like.
Get a box of cookies. You'll enjoy it.
So now here's the huge question for the Browns. And this is one, I was thinking about this earlier because, we talked about Carson Wentz and there's a lot of quarterback controversies around the league right now. And I don't think there's anyone that's bigger than what the Browns are going through. They have to make a decision on Baker Mayfield in the offseason, and they need to pick up his 5th-year option or they're not going to, because it's the end of year 3 for Baker. And they can either move on after next year or they can keep him around and re-sign him. They have a few options here, but they need to make a decision quickly. And they're going to be a playoff team, and they're going to have a chance to make a Super Bowl run. But until yesterday, none of us have ever thought he's a franchise quarterback, at least in the top tier. And as he gets more expensive, you did? I never did.
Maybe not to the top tier, but I mean, when you take a guy with the number 1 overall pick, you see something in them. I trusted that they saw something, especially because he was not projected to go number 1 in that draft at all.
So are you paying Baker Mayfield $40 million a season or $30 million a season?
Yes.
Like, absolutely not, right?
Oh,
Yes.
No.
I am.
Yes? Oh, wow.
If I am the Browns, yes, because he's the leader of the team. He has shown that he has chemistry with the guys. He's a fun personality, and I don't think you can replace that for marginally better skill. Who is on the market right now that is going to be better than Baker Mayfield for the same price as Baker Mayfield?
Yeah,
Or for a similar price as
you
Baker
can
Mayfield?
make that argument. That's true.
Nobody. Not a single quarterback.
Well,
I don't
a
believe-
first-round quarterback could be.
Like I
You
just
could
like
get a first-round quarterback, sure, but you're not getting in the top 10 picks unless you trade away a lot.
No, it's like what I just said about Carson Wentz. I don't know. When you look at Baker, the reason this offense is he's got all these weapons. He's got they got a 2-headed monster, Nick Chubb.
Nick Head.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You have Austin Hooper. You have Jarvis Landry. He had Odell. They're able to afford all that because they don't have to pay Baker.
Realistically,
They have the most money. They easily have the most money spent at the wide receiver position in Landry.
realistically,
Yeah.
if you're looking for a quarterback next season who is not named Baker Mayfield, you are looking at probably Jameis Winston, Carson Wentz, or Tyrod Taylor,
Sam Darnold, too.
Yes.
and maybe Sam Darnold,
Maybe Garoppolo.
and maybe Jimmy Garoppolo. He could be shocked, but those are your guys. I don't know. Maybe Darnold. Darnold is probably the only guy out of that bunch that I would pick over Baker right now.
I agree. I mean, here's the thing though. Would you sign Baker long term? I feel like I'd give him one more year, like on a prove it deal.
Yeah,
I mean, listen, this Browns team, don't get me wrong. He has played well against Titans, but I think he needs one more year to prove it. The main part of this Browns team has been the run game, which is the best run game in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And of course the defense. The defense, oh yes, they did give up 35 points yesterday, 6 points really at the end, but this defense for the Browns has stepped up lately. And
Yes.
I think anybody, not that anybody's better than Baker from the market, but I feel like there's still viable options, and you can still maybe not draft, but I think sign Baker to a 1-year deal, and let's see if he could prove it and be consistent.
Well, it's not about next year because, I mean, he's going to have the 4th year. They have to pick up the option. So he's on a
4 year from now.
So, yeah, he hasn't all of next season to prove himself, but they could sign him now, after this season.
No, of course. I'm just saying,
decision.
use next year as a prove it year for him and see where he goes from there.
So you would decline the option, is what you're saying.
Yeah, let's see how he does for one more year.
Yeah, I would too.
It's hard to tell.
I just don't think that Baker Mayfield can be a star quarterback
I agree.
if the other talent around him isn't excellent, and if they pay him a lot of money, it's not going to be as excellent. So That's to me where the biggest hole in Baker's
I
game
get
is.
that.
He's not going to be able to elevate anything around him. That's
Yeah,
not
and also before yesterday, you could argue that was the first game the Browns showed. Like that was the only you can honestly argue they've had probably one of the easiest schedules this season. All their
They've
wins,
had a pretty easy schedule.
all their win, like any team they play that's legit, they got destroyed by the Steelers and they've been destroyed by the Ravens. Yesterday was the first game against like a legit team that has a shot to win that they actually played well against. So
I agree.
One
That's
game,
true.
and I think it's way too.
That was the Browns' best game by far.
Oh, easily.
Oh yeah,
It was the biggest
That was
game
the
of
Browns-
Baker's
that
career
was probably
too,
the
because they're
best
in the
game the
playoffs
Browns
now.
have. That
Baker
was probably
Mayfield
the
and the Browns
best game the
chose the
Browns
right
have.
day to put up 41 points.
That was the best game the Browns have played since they became the Colts
No, that
or the
defense,
Ravens.
Yeah.
that defense should be proud of itself. They've been the first team since probably the middle of last season to stop Derrick Henry and on his
Yeah.
path of destruction.
It's impressive to see, and just for people who don't know or haven't been paying attention, the Browns. So last week they clinched their first non-losing record. This week they clinched their first winning record since 2007 when they got 10 wins. And I believe they are just
Derek Anderson.
one win away. I think if they just win, they clinch a wild card spot, which would be their first playoff berth since 2002.
And by the way, if they were
And
in
in a
almost
convincing
any other
fashion.
division, they'd be like one of the top teams in football
They're
in
9
terms
and
of
they were in the
standings because
NFC
they would be
East, they would've
winning
won
a lot
by
of these
now.
divisions out there.
They're 9-3.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, all right, let's move on to our final topic before winners and losers. We're going to each give our favorite sports memorabilia item that we've gotten over the years. And I know Aidan was the one who came up with this idea, so I'll let him go first.
Oh,
So
perfect.
go ahead, bro.
All right. So yeah,
Should be fun.
I have this football here. It's a. I'm gonna turn off my background for this so you guys can actually see it. But the football is just like, it's your regular old Nerf football. Nothing too special on it. Pretty beat up because we've used it for like 5 or 6 years. So my friend's dad used to go to Harvard. And he goes to the Harvard-Yale game every year, and we go with him sometimes when it's at Harvard. So we were walking into the stadium one year, and we look to our left, and we see this giant 6'2" guy with a massive beard standing there, and we're
James
like,
Harden.
"Oh my God, that's
Is
Ryan
James Harden?
Fitzpatrick."
Oh my God.
Oh my
So
god!
we all run up to him. We're like, "Oh my God, this is while he's on the Jets too." So.
Yeah, baby.
It's a little awkward. We were wearing like Patriot stuff, and we walked up to him. We're like, "Would you sign this for us?" And so he gave us. It's hard to see, but he signed the football for us. Right there, Ryan Fitzpatrick, 14. And we continued to use the ball for a few years afterwards, because we didn't really have another football to use, and it was a good one. So it's kind of rubbed off, which was a terrible choice by us. But I think the story that goes along with it is just like one of my favorite ones, one of my favorite experiences in sports. I have some other interesting stuff here in my room, but this is definitely the most fun one.
Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I had a couple items I could have gone with, but I decided to go with this. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen the baseball I've been tossing in my hand for the show. So the baseball I'm holding right here, my grandpa got this when he was in 1957. He was on the Brooklyn Dodgers. They had a TV show called Happy Felton Not Whole Gang. So it was they had it before Dodgers games, and my grandpa went on to that show and he won for that episode. He won Best Pitcher. So it was on July 18th, 1957. It says on the ball. And he got it signed by Rube Walker, who at the time was the catcher for the Brooklyn Dodgers. And he turned out to be the guy who was the pitching coach on the 69 Mets championship team. And
He's
the
the
ball right
Brooklyn
here.
Dodgers. It's that old.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
right here. You can see it has like a scuff marks on it. This ball's been in my family since 1957. My dad used to go outside and play with this ball. And my grandpa wanted to kill him.
Like in the Sandlot with the signed Babe Ruth ball.
Oh
Yep.
my God. Well, great scene.
There's a lot of scuff
Great
marks
movie.
on it. But yeah, my grandpa won this on Happy. What's the name? I gotta remember the name of the show. Happy Felton Not Whole Gang.
That is awesome.
Dean.
All right, so of course we don't ever talk soccer on the show, but my favorite memorabilia, or one of my signatures, is autograph from 3 soccer players, all from Manchester City. There's actually an interesting story behind this. So my uncle, who works at Barclays, one day the soccer players came to New York. They came to Barclays and they came at the desk and said, "Hey, would you sign these?" So they just came, gave them the pictures, and they just gave an autograph.
They just walked up. That is awesome.
And my uncle's like, they just sat at the desk at Barclays and they just like, all right, we'll sign pictures. And they just gave out their pictures.
That's cool.
All right,
That
cool.
is so funny.
Shout out to Barclays.
That's really cool.
All right, I have 2. I don't know. You guys want me to show them both? They both have good. Well, one of them has a really good story. The other one's kind of lame.
This is my LeBron statue.
No, it's not. One of them is Laker related, but it had nothing to do with LeBron. So
Go for it.
All right, so this is number 1. So first of all, when I was maybe like 10 years old, and this was not even when I was following basketball at that point. I opened a pack of basketball cards that I think I got them at a birthday party as like a goodie bag maybe, and in it was a Magic Johnson signed basketball card, and that's with Expo marker. So that was cool. So I didn't really know anything about basketball at the time, but I obviously knew who Magic Johnson was.
Dude,
so I've had this ever since, and that's literally Expo marker. So if I put my hand on that, I could rub it off. But obviously,
you could sell that for quite some cash.
So it says on the back of it, you have received a card personally autographed by Magic Johnson. The trading card was signed in the presence of a company representative or sent from and certified to its authenticity by Magic. Enjoy the autograph card. So that's the first one, but this one's cooler. So as you guys know, I'm a big Syracuse fan, and a few years ago, when I was a sophomore in high school, so this is like 3-4 years ago, I went to a basketball game with my family up in Syracuse, and I had this newspaper that my dad had saved from 2003 when Carmelo Anthony and the Syracuse team won the championship, and he had saved the newspaper. So we brought it up to see if any of the players would sign it or something, and we could get an autograph. So we went to the game, no autograph, nothing. But then as we were leaving Syracuse, we were about to go home. We stopped at the training center, the place where they practice, and we just wanted to go see it. We walked around for a few minutes, and then we were about to leave. And as we were leaving, this car pulled in, and we were about to go, and my dad was like, all right, well, just hold on. We're not going to go for a couple minutes. Let's just see who pulls into the spot. Out of the car comes Jim Boeheim, the head coach of Syracuse, Hall of Famer. So we get out of the car screaming. We run over there. We say hi to him. He's just so nice to us, and we take some pictures. He signs the newspaper. So unfortunately, in the other side of the newspaper, the back of the newspaper, it was in 2003, and I have the picture here. The newspaper on the other side said Saddam bombed. It was like some terrorist thing on the newspaper, and I actually held the newspaper the wrong way in the photo.
Oh, God.
So the photo from now on is like
awful.
that. So that's what it says. But then I had a friend who was a good photo editor, so he edited it, and now you can see the actual newspaper in there. But the real photo does say Saddam bomb. So that's the actual picture. So that is my Syracuse Jim Boeheim story. So when I first got the picture, I sent it to a bunch of friends, like saying, I met Jim Boeheim. This is awesome. And I hadn't even noticed it yet. And then they all sent back, said, why does your newspaper say Saddam bombed on it? And I didn't even know. So that was super embarrassing, but that's my story.
That is hilarious.
Oh my Lord, you win. You win.
You definitely win. That
God.
makes me think of something. It's not a piece of memorabilia, but my older brother a bunch of years ago was at a football game at our high school. He was just kind of like chilling behind the end zone. That's what everyone was doing. And this guy walks up and he looks familiar, and they recognize him, and it's LeGarrette Blount. He just shows up unannounced randomly at a high school football game.
Legend.
With nobody who has a chance to go to the NFL. Just he's there. And so they all take a photo with him, and that is how my older brother is friends with LeGarrette Blount on Facebook.
Wow, that's cool.
That's
One
hard.
force trauma.
When speaking of
my
LeGarrette
story,
Blount,
yeah.
he just
that
retired.
that actually did happen with the newspaper. It was so embarrassing. I
How?
can't believe I did that, but thank God I knew someone who was good at
God.
editing and could.
I respect you. You're gonna let that. I respect that. You're telling that story and you're letting it go on the internet. So
Tell it how it is. A+ for honesty.
I have the newspaper hanging in my room though. It's all framed. I have it in my room. It's a very cool piece of memorabilia.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Very nice.
All right, so let's do winners and losers quickly, and then we'll finish up the episode. Dean, go ahead.
All right, 2 winners. This is more recent. First is Aidan for the brilliant idea, of course, with the memorabilia.
you.
It's a great idea. Of course, shout out to Manchester City for the photos. My other winner is Floyd Mayweather. So for those who don't know,
Yes.
Floyd Mayweather is promoting a fight against, I believe, Logan Paul. And it will be on February 20th. Go buy it if you want. Floyd Mayweather's
will
gonna
be.
win. That's all I'm gonna
I
say.
will be.
Yeah,
Floyd
Floyd-
Mayweather's definitely
Makes
going to
no
be.
sense why he's
Mayweather-
fighting some YouTube guy. It makes no
Mayweather
sense
is
to
going
me.
to knock him out, I think, within 20 seconds of that fight.
Because it's gonna be
Floyd
funny, Noah.
Mayweather-
Because it's gonna be funny. They're gonna get a lot of money for it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't
Floyd
matter.
Mayweather
If
is
Boxing
the
has
smartest
become an
businessman in
embarrassment.
boxing.
And I actually thought the
Agreed.
one a couple weeks ago was pretty cool, but it's just terrible.
I think
all
it's
right.
funny when it's between two guys that have the similar skill level. But this isn't even gonna be good to watch.
This is just so.
I'm gonna love it.
Jack, please let's move off from boxing.
Yes, all right. So I got two losers. One's for real, one's kind of funny. My first loser is Greg Williams. Yeah, he was playing chess while the Raiders playing checkers, so he let them get the win, and he understood what was going on. So he's trying to help us get Trevor Lawrence. Now we got 16 quarters left of football to play until we get him, and hopefully we don't mess it up any further. But Greg, I thank you if we get him, and I will always remember you for that. And next up, and this is a little funny. I feel like Dean, I'm gonna partially go with you as my loser,
Of course.
just because I know, as you talk to me all the time. Didn't know, because the Cardinals, ever since they beat you on that Hail Mary play, they've been absolutely horrible since then. I know your hatred for Kyler Murray grows because Kyler Murray got defeated by the Patriots, and that hurts you. So of course that's the one game they won. No, that's the one game they lost. That hurts the Bills. So he's done everything to hurt the Bills, and I know that bothers you.
It pisses me off, and it goes to show luck runs out. They got a little lucky against the Seahawks. They got lucky against us, and then they go on to lose 3 straight games against the Patriots, the Rams, and who was the other team they lost to?
No, just the Patriots and Rams. It was they had a bye. They had a bye after they beat you, didn't they?
Yeah.
It's what happens when you don't rely on a Hail Mary play to win you a game.
Aiden, go.
Sorry, dude.
All right.
I
So
to the
my
Rams.
my loser, you guys are probably going to disagree with me on this. My loser is MLB fans, because there's been a talk in the MLB that potentially they might not be keeping the universal DH rule.
Boo!
Terrible.
Terrible idea.
The DH is the greatest thing that has happened to baseball ever. No, I'm kidding. But I do love the DH. I think it's a great rule. I think they should keep it. It makes it more fun for fans to watch, and that's what the MLB wants to do. Do something like that instead of doing things like having extra guys on base in in extra innings.
And also,
Instead of doing the three batter minimum, do things like that are going to speed up the game a little bit more and make it more of a slugfest that we know the fans want to watch.
And it just let that not alone. It creates more jobs. It creates 15 more starting positions in baseball. It's so
Yeah.
stupid. Why would you not do that?
I love the DH, and it might be because I come from like an American League team, so I've never really known what it's like without one. But it doesn't make any sense to have one league do it and one league not.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just
I
have
agree.
everybody do it.
No, they need to get rid of that extra inning rule. They need to get rid of the rule that a pitcher needs to face at least 3 batters. They got a lot to clean up.
Yeah. All right. I'm not really sure exactly who my winner is because I was thinking about it and I couldn't really decide. So this is the best I got.
Jets fans, Trevor Lawrence is still alive.
Well, yeah, that's definitely a winner. But my real winner is everyone that gets to laugh at the ridiculous comments being made this week by Paul George. I mean, oh my God. Everything that Paul George says makes me want to puke. First, he's talking about how Doc Rivers is using him in the wrong role. Dude, you shot the ball like 1,000,000 times every game. And then he's talking about how, it's going to be
Did you
different
see
with Ty
Doc
Lue.
Rivers'
No, it's not.
clapback?
What?
Doc Rivers responded to his comment saying, "You got Ty Lue next year. He was sitting next to me the whole
Exactly.
time. Nothing's gonna change."
His other ridiculous comment was that he wants to be a Clipper forever. He can be a free agent next year. They're not the favorite in the Western Conference, number 2. And he already left Indiana and Oklahoma City after saying the same thing twice. So
Yeah.
what makes Clipper fans
I feel
any
like he's gonna
confident that he'll
leave
be there
again.
in a while?
He is
So
totally
ridiculous.
I know he has said some wild things, and Damian Lillard actually like he responded to it on
so
Instagram.
bad.
He just said like, oh my God.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's not,
He
it's not
goes-
even
he
about
goes-
like, the
he
fact that
put-
I don't like the Clippers. Like, it has nothing to do with that. Like, if it was any player that was saying something so ridiculous, I would call it out. And Dean, like,
Dave-
I can see you shaking your head. Like, you know how ridiculous the things that he says can sound.
I think you know, just like my hatred for Kyler Murray's been growing, my hatred for Paul George has been growing rapidly.
It's so bad. Like, what are you doing, man?
The
Oh my God.
Damian Lillard tweeted earlier today, saying, or just with a picture showing the 3 quotes that Paul George has said. In Indy, he said, "My goal is to win one here. I never want to leave Indy." Then in Oklahoma City, he said, "I'm here to stay. We can bring this thing home." Now he's saying, "This is where my heart is. I want to retire a Clipper." And Damian Lillard responded to that saying, just showing everybody that.
I mean, like, let's be honest about it. He wouldn't be saying anything if they had won the series and moved on to face the Lakers and had gone on to win a championship or whatever. Like, he only said that because they blew 3 huge leads in the second halves of games 5, 6, and 7. Otherwise, he'd be saying nothing like that. And he'd have the same role as he had last year under Doc Rivers, and nothing would change. But only because they lost and he couldn't make a shot in the final games of that series. That's the only reason why he's talking. It's just so dumb. It drives me nuts.
He's hitting the side of the backboard. Like, shut your mouth.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, that's going to do it for us here at Agree to Disagree. This is a longer episode of the week. We'll do a shorter one later this week, which will play on VIC this Saturday. Make sure you follow us on social media, and hope everybody has a nice week. Enjoy finals, and good luck with everything.